this police flap state investigation going to disqualify you from becoming Senator McCain's vice presidential candidate?
Well, it shouldn't disqualify me from anything, including progressing the state's agenda here towards more energy production. As for that VP talk all the time, I tell you, I still can't answer that question until somebody answers for me. What is it exactly that the VP does?
Hey YouTube, Ultimo Latino here again. That was Governor Palin asking the famous question, what is it that the vice president does? You know, I gave this woman a lot of rope. You know, I figured I didn't know her when she was first announced. I said to myself, let's just find out more about her. And what I have found out from that and amongst other things is that I don't think this woman has adequately read the Constitution of the United States. I know you all are saying, well, that's a pretty serious charge against, you know, somebody that is running for vice president. Well, I'm thinking up until the point she gave that interview, she did not really read the Constitution of the United States. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had to ask that question. I'm just using deductive logic here. The fact is, the Constitution is pretty clear on the roles of the vice president. If you actually read it, there are several sections where the role of the vice president is pretty clearly defined. Sure, there are other things that the vice president does that I guess one would learn from history, from looking at you know, past vice presidents and their roles and things of that nature. But if you want some specifics on what the vice president does, then it's in black and white. I mean, it's there in the language of the Constitution and the amendments thereof. I really don't understand why she would have to ask that if at that point she had adequately read the Constitution of the United States. Let me list for you the areas where the vice president's role is stated and the basically the job requirements of the vice president are listed. In Article 1, Section 3, Paragraph 4. And I'm just going to read that one for you really quickly because it's pretty straightforward. It says, the Vice President of the United States shall be President of the Senate, but shall have no vote unless they are equally divided. Meaning that should the Senate be in a deadlock, that the Vice President would break the tie, as it were. And the Vice President presides over the Senate because he or she, in this case, is President of the Senate. Pretty straightforward to me. The Vice President's role is also listed further in the Constitution. Article 2, Section 1, Paragraph 3 speaks of the President of the Senate, the Vice President's role. And in the amendments to the Constitution also speak about the Vice President's job and the President of the Senate's job. Now, Vice President and President of the Senate are, as I just read to you, one and the same. Now, Amendment 12, Paragraph 1 speaks about this. Amendment 20, Section 3, the entire section speaks about this. Amendment 25, Section 1, 3, and 4 speak about this. So, am I being a bit cynical? Maybe, when I say that up until this interview, Governor Palin more than likely did not read those sections of the Constitution, and I would go one step further and say if she didn't read those sections, what sections did she read? And I believe I have the right to ask these questions because this woman will be upholding the Constitution, and if she hadn't read it up until that point, up until right around the time she received the nomination, then I think that really says something. Especially since before she received the nomination, she was holding a government office. It's deeply disturbing to me. I hope by now she has had time to go over the Constitution and has, you know, studied the passages that I have just listed. That do in fact outline the role of the Vice President, the President of the Senate. I'm 99% sure that Senator Obama read it. I mean, he was a professor of constitutional law, for Christ's sake. Joe Biden, I'm also satisfied that he read it. McCain, I'm satisfied that he read it. But I cannot in good conscience now vote for McCain because I am not satisfied that his vice president has adequately studied the language of the core document and the supreme law of the land that she will be governing. She doesn't understand her job description at that point. Maybe she understands it now. I don't know. To me, it's too little, too late. To be quite honest with you, I just, I can't get over it really. I think this is also symptomatic of a much bigger problem. I don't think enough Americans are acquainted with the Constitution, are acquainted with their basic liberties. It seems that they're detached from them to a degree, and I think that's a big problem. At any rate, I think the fact that Governor Palin did not know the roles of the basic job description of the vice presidency speaks volumes as to her constitutional intellect and her overall knowledge of the workings of the executive branch of the federal government.